So I'm going to continue my talk series, A New Design for Living. And today we're going to talk about the practice of right thinking. And I thought that was a really good title that Ernest Holmes came up with. Because what is right thinking? You couldn't even make sense of that, could you? That's exactly it. Right thinking doesn't make sense because there's no such thing as right thinking or wrong thinking. There's just thinking. Do you get that? There's no right or wrong in the universe. It's what we perceive it to be. It's what we make it out to be in our lives. And so when we go to it, it's about we are creatures of our habit, and our habits control our destiny. Do you get that? Our habits that are unconsciously made control our destiny. So yesterday, I decided to screw with Facebook. And I did. I got on Facebook and I put a post out there that I knew was going to generate feedback. And so what I said was something like this. When I was in the corporate world, and I left as a vice president of marketing, I hired a lot of senior entry clerical people. I hired introductory people who were exempt. I hired supervisors. I hired managers. I said, and when I hired them, the demeanor of that person indicated whether or not I would hire them. Because the resumes of all the people who were put in front of me had all the qualifications. Does that make sense? So everyone you're ever interviewing in business all has the qualifications. So the only thing that I was judging in the interviewing process was, what is the demeanor of the person? How is their energetic coming across? And this is where I hooked them. I said, the other day watching on television the interview process of the candidate for the Supreme Court, did this individual have the demeanor I want to see in one of the highest offices of this country? And my answer was no. Here's why. Because you don't defend yourself. When you know who you are, you state the fact and you don't defend yourself. You don't have to get emotional when you defend yourself. You don't have to tell the entire world 28 times that you like beer. You see, this is a position that's nonpartisan. This position is on the court that's purpose is to enforce the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of this nation. That's it. And so all of a sudden there was like an S-storm. It was like a volcano erupted combined with a typhoon, and there was comment after comment after comment after comment after comment, people attacking everybody, all sides going on. And so what's happening? They're creating an energy, right? They're creating an energy. It's like our lives. We're creating an energy. We're getting caught up. And I saw the energy. I felt the energy. What did I do to stop the energy? I went into my original post and I clicked delete. And instantaneously, all the energy disappeared. Because today, people are so polarized, they're not willing to think outside of their polarized box. And you can't get people to think differently than their current thinking. That's the real key that I'm trying to say here. You cannot win an argument. There's no such thing as winning an argument today. People are too polarized. People today are not willing to have open and honest discussions. They're too attached to, I was born a Republican, I'm going to be a Republican, I'm going to die a Republican. I was born a Democrat, I'm now a Democrat, I'm going to die a Democrat. No, you're not. You were born an individualization of the Most High, an individualization of God with the ability to freely think for yourself. Isn't it time we start doing that? So this is what Ernest Holmes is talking about. We are creatures of our habit. You see the habits we've got and how we think? We got to stop that and create new habits that to support who we are. We go on. Ooh, that was me that said that. You know, I guess in another life I was Ernest Holmes because the quotes seem to run together. Upon knowing this, it seems only natural that we begin to create mental habits of thinking that we are directed toward what we want. What he's basically saying there, create habits of thinking directed only toward what you want. So in other words, when I hit that delete button, I said, I don't want to think about this that way. I want to think about it differently. So what do I have to do? I have to delete that pattern of thought. And I have to reinstall a new software into my mind and think a new habit. And that takes time and that takes work to think that habit. And what is a true habit? What does it mean to build a belief? You align your thoughts, words, actions, and feelings toward a directed result, and you hold it persistently and consistently. I say that every week, and I really want to make that really clear because a belief, a lot of people say, change your thinking, change your life. That's what Ernest Holmes said. I don't know if Ernest really said that, but that's what we've summarized his teaching as. But it's really about what Jesus said. It's about it is done unto you as you believe, and here's what your beliefs are. Your thoughts, words, actions, and feelings align toward a specific result, held persistently and consistently. The key thing is where most of us fall short is we don't hold them persistently and consistently. We're like this, rabbit, oops, squirrel, and we come back to our thought. We do affirmations, we do prayer work. I'm infinitely abundant, I'm infinitely abundant, I'm infinitely abundant. Here, would you like to give $5 to this charity? I'm sorry, I don't have the money for that. When you tell the universe you don't have money for something, what does the universe hear? You don't have money. You may not be able to give the amount at that time, but you can give something. Whether if you don't have money, you can give your service. You can give your service. You can give your support. See, the idea is money is what? Energy. Do you get that? That's all money is. It's a representation of energy. And so we've got to realize that the universe is circular. And so energy, if it's blocked, it blocks everything in you. You get stuck. What causes us being stuck? Stress. And when we get plugged up, we get like, I'm going back to that thing of being plugged up again. When we get plugged up, what happens? We get stressed and disease happens. Science is saying this. In some cases, 86%, in some cases, 90%, but a majority of all illness is caused by stress. Who controls stress in your life? You do. No one else determines how you react to something. Only you can determine that. In any situation, you have the right to go delete, reboot, start over. Isn't that a great way of looking at it? When your computer's mucked up, what do you normally do? They say the first thing you do, reboot it. That's what we do with our minds, and we do that beginning with meditation. Meditation is the key to rebooting because when we meditate, we slow down the mind, we slow down the thoughts, we become one focused, all that stuff melts away. Now we're in a position to think anew. But when you're caught up in the midst of being in disease, being without money, being in argument, being in conflict, you can't think anew. Your mind is going too fast. You can't slow it down. It's like a train going 100 miles an hour. You can't get in front of the train and slow it down. You got to get inside the train, control your thoughts, and the train will start to slow, and then it can make a turn on a different track. But if it's going too fast, it can't make the turn. We change the thought or pattern of thought, and the form or experience will change. It's just that simple. This principle of it is done unto you as you believe, or changing your thought or your pattern of thought applies to everyone. Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, everyone is using this thing that we call the law, this aspect of God that's creating. Everyone is using it. Here's the key. Almost everyone is using it unconsciously. That's the key to conscious creation. You have to consciously choose where are you putting your emphasis, where are you putting yourself. Because if you don't, you will become a victim of the law of averages. In other words, if you don't direct the law where you want it to be in an area of your life, you will have an average experience, which means you become a part of this statistical base, which means then 30% of the people in that average are going to have heart attacks, 30% are going to have cancer, 50% are going to develop diabetes. Do you want to be that, a statistic? No. You're an individual. And remember, an individual is not a statistic. An individual doesn't have to subscribe to the law of averages. They may say the average life expectancy of a man is about 74, 75 years. I plan to live 124 plus. 124 plus, functioning the level I'm functioning today. At my age, I'm 67, 95% of the people my age are on prescription meds. I'm proud to say that my wife and I are not taking any. Any. And the reason is we have a spiritual practice about health. Now, it doesn't mean we haven't been challenged in our lives with health, but what we understood is we have to change cause, not just treat symptoms. See, you treat symptoms so that you can be free enough to treat cause, but you've always got to go back to cause, and cause is what? A habit of thinking we have to change. And it's everything in our lives, we've got habits of thought. When we get upset over something, we've got a habit of thought we need to look at. So our emotions become our guide. When we get upset over something, we've got to be able to say, oh my God, I'm upset at that. What habit of thinking am I got? Where did I get the habit? My God, I think back at all the habits I got from my mother and father. I love my mother and father. Bless your souls, you're dead. They are, and that's where they should be. They went on to the next level of evolution. So I'm not saying I'm glad they're dead. I love my parents. But the thing that I learned from them is my mother was a great, and I don't mean years-wise, but a great-grandmother. She was a phenomenal grandmother. And my father, to the best of his ability, did that. But here's what they taught me. I can be even more of a grandfather. That's the gift. And the gift I remember is that my mother never really looked me in the eyes. Neither did my father. They were always looking off to the side. And the only time I remember looking into my mother's eyes, about a week before she died. And I looked into my mother's eyes at that moment, and I said, Mom, let's go into prayer and we can heal this. And she looked me with like I've never seen in her eyes, and she says, let me die. She knew she was done with this life. And she had the right to go on and move to the next dimension. The hardest thing I ever did was accept. Because I felt if we prayed together, we could beat it. I know we could beat it. But you see, she didn't want it. That's why you cannot do prayer for someone who hasn't asked for prayer. You don't know what that soul's intention is. Because here's what I understand. The soul, that infinite aspect of us that's never separate from the infinite, it releases the body when the body is no longer serving its growth and its advancement. So we don't know what that soul wants, do we? Hell, I don't know what my wife wants, let alone my soul. And I'll tell you what, the baby is the greatest example of that, because the baby will let you know in every moment its needs aren't being met. And the need could be this. Here's what it is. You're not looking at me. I'm bored. Do you notice that about a baby? I didn't realize it, but that young thing gets bored very easy. When did we lose that as adults? When did we start accepting this humdrum, day in, day out, repetitive life over and over and say, that's enough. That's good enough for me. When we were children, we didn't accept that. Why would we accept it as adults? As adults, we should be becoming more aware that we have a greater power in us, and we should be expanding and expanding and expanding. I'm looking at people that are my age, that they're actually living dead. They're zombies. Because they've got nothing new they're looking forward to. We've got to be looking forward to creating more from where we are, because that's our birthright. It's to create more. Even if you're in a relationship of 45, almost 46 years, you can create more in that. Why? Because there's an infinite amount you can create. It's a limiting practice that when you've been married that long, you can't have that juiceful relationship. I believe you can have juice until the moment your last breath leaves. And even beyond. You can come back and haunt them. Why not, if it's all possible? I think right now my dad's kicking me in the ass, Anyway, we should only make habits which entertain those thoughts and ideas which we wish to experience in our outer form. Does it get any simpler? How many times do you say, I should do this, and you don't do it? How many times you say, I'm going to do this, I was going to do this, but. How many of you got a lot of buts in your life? Everyone does, because we're constantly making excuses for our own good. The second we use the word but, we're defending. Remember we talked earlier about defending? When we're defending our life, we're going to have our life over and over again. When we don't defend our life, we have the ability to expand into a greater life. We're willing to accept, this is where I am. I don't have to defend it, but I'm going to become more. I'm going to become more. And isn't that what we want? When you wake up in the morning and you got something that you are really looking forward to, oh my God, you can't wait to get the day started. But if you're waking up in the morning and you're sluggish and you can't get your day going, I'm going to ask you this question. What is it you need to look at to inspire you? And inspiration comes from within. It doesn't come from without. This is why when you go to a Tony Robbins seminar, you'll get there, you'll be rah, rah, rah for 2 weeks. And then most people, 99% of the people, go right back to the old pattern of thought. Why? It was an outer stimulation, not an inner stimulation. Unless the inspiration comes from within, it doesn't last. But that's what we've got to do. We've got to figure out what is it about us in our uniqueness that is desiring to be expressed. And when we got that, oh my God, we've got the power. We got the juice. As we build new conscious habits of thought, we begin to put our life on an automatic pilot, which is now taking us toward our desired destination. You see, when you build habits, your life becomes automated. When I took on the idea that I'm going to be a vegan, I'm not totally a vegan because I do eat the organic free-range eggs now. I've added that back because my body says, for me, that fits. But when I did that, I didn't do it because society wanted me to. I did it for my own self. I did it because I wanted to heal myself of a tumor, and I did. So because I did that, I believe that what I do works for me. So I've got a habit of thinking about food, right? I got a new habit. So when I go into an environment and everyone else is doing something different, it doesn't bother me. I'm not uncomfortable. It's easy for me to say no because I've got a habit that serves me. The question is, have you built a habit that serves you? Have you built it on food, on health, on exercise, on money? Have you built it on relationships? Have you built it on spirituality? Have you built it on career? Have you built it on social relationships? Have you built it on learning? You see, you've got to build habits in all those areas of life. Otherwise, you become subject to the law of averages. And do you want an average life? No. That's my girl. She knows the truth. And she's free. If you do nothing else today, I would suggest to awaken to the idea that there's a divine in you. And the way you show that divine is you become conscious that when you're with someone, you look them in the eyes. When you look in the mirror, you don't look at your hair. You don't look at your skin. You don't look at your flat waist. You look into your eyes. You look into your eyes and you say, I accept you as you are. And as you are is perfect. And as you do that, you begin to shift the unconscious habit of thought of self-judgment. That I am not enough, that I am not worthy. And you start to say to the world, I love myself. I love myself. I accept myself as I am. Because until you can accept yourself as you are, you cannot judge and you cannot love another. Do you get that? The degree that you can love another human being is the degree to which you can love yourself. It's law. It can be no other way. When you leave here today, before you go watch football, go in front of the mirror. Look in the eyes of the person you're looking at, which is you, and say, I love you. I am worthy. I am magnificent. And I am grateful to just be me. Let's pray.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.